Although inflation cooled on a month-over-month basis in May, mortgage interest costs and grocery prices continued to rise. It was announced yesterday that grocery prices shot up 9%, and mortgage interest costs skyrocketed in May. However, the overall inflation rate fell to 3.4%. Statistics Canada reports that this was mostly due to an 18.3% drop in gas prices. The decline in overall inflation is likely welcome news for the Bank of Canada, which is gearing up for its next interest rate decision on July 12th. But several economists still think that the central bank will make another rate hike. Well, joining us now to discuss the latest on the Consumer Price Index is Dr. Moshe Lander, economist and professor at Concordia University. Dr. Lander, welcome back.
Hello.
So, as we mentioned, seeing inflation drop in May should be quite the relief to many. But as we said, mortgage interest costs and grocery prices rose significantly. So, can you walk us through this and how this works and the factors that led to a decline in overall inflation?
Sure. So remember that when we talk about inflation, what we're doing is we're talking about an increase in the average price of goods and services that the typical Canadian buys. So the reality is that probably nobody in Canada experienced 3.4% inflation over the last 12 months. It's just that it's an average over what everybody's experiencing. So even here, where you highlighted earlier that some prices are falling, some prices are rising a little bit, some prices are rising rapidly. All of that is reduced to just one average number. It's almost like the same thing as saying that a class averages 70% on an exam. It's probably unlikely that anybody gets 70%. Some are getting above, some are getting below. And so what we're seeing here then is that on balance, the goods and services that were rising really quickly over the last 12 months have started to slow down a little bit. And maybe some of the ones that were already slow are falling even further. But of course, there's wide distribution.
And the issue of rising mortgage interest costs, again, is the biggest factor impacting inflation. So, what does this mean for the economy overall as we continue to tackle inflation?
So we've seen that interest rates have gone up since the beginning of 2022. But remember that a lot of Canadians have fixed rate mortgages. And so the idea of a fixed rate mortgage is until you have to renegotiate with the bank, your mortgage rate is locked in. And so what's been happening over the last 18 months is that as various mortgages have come up for renewal, banks have said, all right, the mortgage rate that we promised you when you locked in last time is not available to you anymore because interest rates have gone up. And so as the balance of people with those fixed rate mortgages see their terms expire in the coming months, they're going to find that their cost of borrowing has gone up rather significantly from record lows to 40-year highs. And so we're going to continue to see that mortgage pressures are going to be a source of inflation for months to come because not all Canadians have cycled through the renewal process on their mortgages yet.
And it seems that some economists are predicting another rate hike from the Bank of Canada in just the next few weeks. Now, with inflation slowing down, why are economists predicting another rate hike to happen?
So I'll take the position that I don't think that the rate hike is coming on July 12th. I think it's going to come in September. But regardless, I think there is general consensus that another rate hike is coming. The reason for that is that, first of all, inflation has not come down to 2%. If I can use another bad analogy for you, if anybody goes on a diet, losing the first 10 pounds is the easy bit. It's the last 10 pounds that's the really hard part. And so what we've had is the ability to get down from 8 to 3, not a problem. But to get down from 3 to 2, that's really going to be the issue for the Bank of Canada. And so giving another interest rate increase is sending a signal to Canadians, don't become complacent. Squeeze out those last 10 pounds and don't be content with what you've accomplished up until now. And so by increasing interest rates, it's a signal that the Bank of Canada still does mean business and getting to 2%. And we should be serious about getting to 2% as well.
All right, Dr. Lander, just about a minute left here. But if this interest rate were to occur on July 12th, what could the impact be to the economy following another rate hike by the BOC, especially amid concerns around recessions?
Well, that's just it, Nima, is that we keep talking about is the recession coming? And the last GDP figures we got were suggesting that the Canadian economy is growing above its average rate. So it does seem that there's some level of immunity here to these interest rate increases. At some point, it's going to have consequences. I'm not saying that we're going to talk about some catastrophic fall in the economy, but at some point, the economy does have to slow down. This might be the interest rate increase that tips it towards at least a slowing, if not a mild recession. But I don't think it's something that we're just going to say has no effect on the economy. We can just let the good times roll. At some point, our debt is going to come back and harm us because it's just much more expensive to finance now than it was 18 months ago.
We'll definitely have to see how things play out. Dr. Lander, thank you again for joining us on Forum Daily.